throughout 90 minutes. Beckerman sizzles through into the net. Into the net. Beckerman has given RSL their second.
Drives in. Ricketts changed his mind. Off the post and in. What a terrific goal. That's the goal of the week.
Back to RSL ranks. Coming back after a 2-week break. I apologize for that. I have been very busy lately, so unfortunately no episode the past few weeks, but we're back, which, that's all that matters. I'm really excited about this episode today. We will be ranking RSL Homegrowns, so really excited about this idea, and we've had a lot of successful Homegrowns. We've been a pretty successful club at producing talent, but before we get into that, I'm going to just do a quick little recap of the match from Saturday, and I've got my 3 takeaways from the match. The number 3 takeaway that I have was the giveaways could have lost this for us. Now, if you didn't see the score, it was 4-0 to RSL over Chicago Fire, which it's an incredible win, 4-0. Obviously, we were much better than them. But we actually could have lost this if we were better, if we weren't better, which is a bit crazy because we won 4-0, but we did give the ball away quite a few times, particularly at the beginning of the game. I noticed a couple times from Emeka and Nelly, a few times from Brody, from Hidalgo, Oviedo, a couple of really, really poor giveaways from our defensive players that could have led to chances. Luckily, Chicago is pretty terrible, and they didn't put any of those away, and we locked this game up. That we had no problems with winning this game. But that's just one thing to look out for. Emeka Nelly, this was probably his worst game of the season. Not to say it was even that bad of a game. He didn't play terribly, and it came in a 4-0 win as well. So, it was still a pretty solid game from him. But yeah, he had a couple of shaky giveaways, which I'm not too nervous about. I know he's a great player, and I'm not questioning him being in the starting lineup. It's just one thing to look out for. All right, now my number 2 takeaway is, what does this team look like with another DP? Now, our DP situation is a little bit weird right now. Technically, we only have one real senior DP, that's Chicho Arango. Besides that, Andres Gomez, he is a young designated player, so he is occupying one of our 3 DP slots, and then the other one is Matt Crooks. He's technically a DP right now, but he's at the minimum threshold that a DP can be. So technically we can buy him down if we wanted to bring in another DP, which I'm assuming we're going to do. My guess is that this summer we bring in one more DP. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit. Where do we spend that DP? What position do we want that DP to be in? Because our attack so far this season has been firing on all cylinders. It's been incredible to watch. We don't need a striker. We've got Chicho. Luna and Gomez lock up the wings with Fidel Barajas as a backup. Matt Crooks is a DP at the number 10. I think they are all doing really, really well. Ojeda and Anelli are irreplaceable right now. And even with Pablo Ruiz injured, we still have lots of cover there. So I'm thinking maybe we want a DP center back to partner Justin Glad. I think that's where I would spend it. That's the weak spot in the team right now. I'd say the weakest position is right back, where Andrew Brody is, but I don't think we'll be wanting to spend a DP spot on right back, so I would go center back. But honestly, the team is in really, really good shape right now, and if we get that center back, what can we achieve? I think we could really, really challenge for top spot in the West, maybe with a DP. It would really, really be incredible to get one more DP, and I think it will happen. So my guess is we get a DP center back that partners next to Justin Glad. What happens to Brian Vera after that? I don't know. He could move to left back. We could shift to a back 3, or he could sit on the bench. But he is the most expensive defender in RSL history up to this point. So he's not really a player of Vera's quality. Really shouldn't be benched. That's how talented this roster seems right now. All right, now the number 1 takeaway from this game, why we won, it's honestly because Chicago is just, they played horribly. This has to be one of the worst results I've ever seen from a team. They gifted us, 3 of the goals, all but the first one, which is just awful. The first one is brilliant play from Chicho and a great shot from Gomez. So that goal we kind of created for ourselves. But then after that, it's like there's the giveaway back pass right to Chicho. They didn't mark him at all on that corner kick. And then they didn't put any pressure on Diego Luna for the fourth goal, which, one more thing to add, Diego Luna getting a goal. Really excited about that. I'm really hoping this can boost his season. But yeah, Chicago, they were terrible. I feel so bad for Chicago fans. They've been so bad every single year for the past, I don't know, like 15 years or so, it feels like. They've rarely made the playoffs. And this is like, to be a Chicago fan, oh my word, that would be so sad. I feel really bad for them because they spend a lot of money, but they're just not successful. So sorry to Chicago fans. Like, I really do feel for you guys. But that's kind of why I think we won this game to the extent that we did. I think maybe we would have, like, we played well enough to potentially win even against a better opponent, but we wouldn't be going 4-0 against basically any other team besides Chicago. All right, so that will do it for the 3 takeaways from the Chicago game. Overall, incredible result, 4-0 on the road. RSL will take on Philadelphia Union this Saturday. Make sure to catch the game. And let's go into the main ranking. So today's main ranking, we will be ranking Homegrowns. Now, we're not ranking every Homegrown because we have had a lot of them. Not all of them have even played for us. Pretty much what I've done with this list is I've taken all the Homegrowns who have played any significant amount of minutes. If they've only played like anything like 5 or less games, then they're not in here. I think the least is 8 appearances. So things I will be considering in my ranking is success with RSL, success outside of RSL as well, but I think what they did for the club is what I will weight more heavily. I'm basically ranking this on how helpful they were to the club and how much of an asset they have been. So I think that pretty much sets up the ranking, and we've got 15 Homegrowns here. So I have tiered them as well as ranked them just because it's kind of easier for me at least to look at it and to see the actual ranking. So this bottom tier, I've labeled it wait and see because there's only 2 players in this tier. These are players that they're still at the club, and I don't think they've reached their full potential yet. I think basically everyone else in this list, they've reached what we can expect to achieve from them. So starting in 15th, I've gone with Gavin Beavers. He's been with RSL for 3 seasons. He has 8 appearances. Just got his first shutout against Chicago, so congratulations to Gavin. But yeah, I've put him here because I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a good, promising player. He's only played 8 times for us, though, so there's not really much I can do. He's in this wait-and-see tier. I don't think 15th, like him being in 15th, means he's the worst player out of this whole group. It's just kind of where he falls within the tiering system. Gavin Beavers, though, I really like him. I think he's a great shot stopper. He's got some really good size, I think 6'4", so I like Gavin Beavers a lot. I hope he can maybe be our starting goalkeeper one day. And I think, 15th is a little unfair to him just looking at the numbers. But yeah, he's a wait-and-see type player for me. I think we can still expect to see a lot more from Gavin. All right, now in 14th, once again in the wait-and-see tier, I've gone with Bodie Hidalgo. So Bodie Hidalgo, he's been with RSL for 4 seasons. He has 35 appearances and 1 goal. So I actually really like Bodie Hidalgo. I think he should be a starter for this team at right back. That's where I want to see him. I think he's our best option there. As you all know, I'm not the biggest Andrew Brody guy. So I think Bodie Hidalgo, he's one of our most talented players that we should be developing. And that's why I'd rather play him over Brody, because Brody, he's older than Hidalgo. He's not like, Brody's already reached his peak. Hidalgo, I still think, has one more gear in him. And I think he can definitely do much more. I'm really excited about Hidalgo as a player for this club. And let's hope that he can be a success for us. All right, now this next tier is called Not the Best. These players, they played quite a few games for us, but you were never really excited to see them playing. So 13th, I've got Eric Holt. He's still on the roster. Many fans may have forgotten that by now, but he's been with RSL for 6 seasons, 42 appearances, 1 goal. I'm also not the biggest Eric Holt guy. I don't think many RSL fans are. It's kind of a shame that he's been injured the past couple of seasons because I did feel like he was starting to improve just a little bit. But I think his time with RSL, it's done. Like, he's out for the season. I'm pretty sure I heard Dunny say that. So Eric Holt, I think most RSL fans are pretty much done with him. He's not very consistent injury-wise. And when he did play, he never made me too excited. He always made me kind of nervous when I saw him in the lineup. So Eric Holt, I put him in 13th. I'm sure he's a great guy, but I don't think I can put him any higher than this. All right, now in 12th, I've gone with Danny Acosta. He's a player that RSL fans may or may not remember him. He was with RSL for 4 seasons. He had 26 appearances and 29 Monarchs appearances, and then he ended up getting released. So Danny Acosta, we didn't get any money back for him. I remember he was sort of promising for a little while, but he was never really the biggest talent in our homegrown pool. And I don't think he's even playing for anyone right now. He hasn't really turned out to have much of a successful career at all, which is a shame because he was all right for us, but I don't know. Danny Acosta, his career kind of fell off the rails a little bit. Okay, and then number 11, I have Tate Schmidt. He was with RSL for 4 seasons, 24 appearances, and 2 goals. And then we didn't renew his contract after, I believe, the 2022 season. He's on Houston now. He's doing all right for them. He's played a couple times this season, which, I'm happy for Tate Schmidt because, I don't know, after that penalty miss against Austin in the playoffs, it was always going to be a bit rough for him to earn back the hearts of the fans, I would say. He was a bit of a funny player. I remember early in the 2022 season, I think he scored 2 goals back-to-back games, which that was a lot of fun, but like he was never really anything special for us, and there's a reason we didn't renew his contract, to be honest. So he didn't do much for the club, but I think a bit more than Acosta and Holt, so that's why I've got him in 11th. All right, now the next tier is called Good Enough. These are players that, they were fine or they've been fine, but like nothing special really. So in 10th, I have Donny Toya, the left back. He was with RSL for 4 seasons, 63 appearances and 1 goal, and then we didn't get any money back for him. We just didn't renew his contract. So, I mean, yeah, Donny Toya, like he'd never made fans too excited seeing him at left back. 63 appearances, though, that's quite a few, and you have to give him credit for, over 50 appearances is quite a lot. But yeah, Donny Toya, I don't have too much to say about him rather than except for it sort of felt like he pushed Brooks Lennon out of the club, which I didn't love the decision from Mike Petke, I think it was at the time. So Donny Toya, he's not the most talented player in this list, but he was serviceable. All right, now in 9th, I have David Ochoa. He was with RSL for 3 seasons, 26 appearances, but really only 1 season where he was the full-time starter. David Ochoa was a fun player to have, a real villain, maybe the most villainous player that RSL's ever even had. He was a lot of fun to have between the sticks. He wasn't that good. I mean, he was good enough to be starting, but I wouldn't say he was an out-of-this-world type player. And it ended really sourly with him. So I don't think we got any money back for him when we let him go. I think he is on LAFC 2 now, their second team. So good for him. I hope he gets his career back on track. And it was fun for those couple of seasons to have David Ochoa. But yeah, really disappointing how that one didn't turn out. All right, now in the 8th spot, this is where I've got Andrew Brody. He's been with RSL for 4 seasons, 87 appearances, and 2 goals. So Andrew Brody, he's still on the roster, but I will say, I think he's reached his potential at this point. I don't think we're going to see much more from Andrew Brody than we've already seen. So, yeah, that's why I've got him in 8th right here. I mean, he's been serviceable, but he is the weak spot in the starting 11 right now, in my opinion. I know I already kind of spoke about him in the 3 takeaways from the Chicago match, but he has a few good. I mean, he doesn't look like the type of player that would be really good. Like, he doesn't have the build. He's very lanky and, skinny kind of. He doesn't look like a soccer player, but he's all right, considering that. Uh, but he's not like, he doesn't really make me excited. Like, I prefer Hidalgo to Andrew Brody at the moment. But he's been serviceable. 87 appearances, that's quite a few. And he's a pretty decent crosser, but defensively, I don't think he offers that much, and I think he gives the ball away a bit too much. So that's my opinion on Andrew Brody, and that's why I've got him in 8th. All right, now we're going on to the next tier, which I've called it successful. So these are players that they were a success for us. They were good players, and we enjoyed having them. They weren't like the best of the best, but they were pretty good players. So in 7th, I have Jordan Allen, which Jordan Allen, he's really like a what if for RSL fans. He was with us for 6 seasons, 50 appearances, and 4 goals. He's still only 28 years old, so it was really the injuries that killed him. I think he's still coaching for the academy, if I'm not mistaken, which that's really, really cool to see because he was an exciting player for a bit there. And man, the injuries just kind of killed his career, which is really too bad because I liked Jordan Allen. I thought he was a pretty solid player. It was a little surprising that he only had 4 goals, actually. I guess he must have had a lot of substitute appearances. But yeah, Jordan Allen, we didn't end up getting any money for him because he just retired while he was on RSL. So a bit of a disappointing one, but he was successful. Like, he was a better player than pretty much everyone else in this list. All right, now in 6th, and this is where I have Bofo Salcedo. He was with RSL for 6 seasons and 83 appearances, 5 goals. Now, I think this is the first player that's really played significant minutes outside of RSL. So outside of RSL, he's had 78 appearances and 5 goals, which it's all been in Liga MX. And we didn't get any transfer fee for him. His contract just wasn't renewed. That's why he left. But I really liked Bofo. He was an interesting player to have off the bench, and he was pretty exciting for a while there. We had a crop of players in like 2018, 2019, something like that they were pretty exciting. I wouldn't say any of them were like incredible, like we sold them for millions of dollars. But Bofo Salcedo, yeah, I liked watching him play. He wasn't like one of the best players on the team, but I enjoyed Bofo. I do actually have one memory of him after one of the RSL games, and he was like giving out autographs, and I went up to him, and I didn't have a pen, and I was so sad I didn't get his autograph. It was such a sad day for me. But yeah, that's Bofo. He was kind of a fun guy, and I hope he continues to do well in Liga MX. All right, now in 5th spot, this is the last one in the successful tier. I've got Corey Baird. Corey Baird was with RSL for only 3 seasons, but he had 83 appearances, 15 goals. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2018. And then outside of RSL, he's had 86 appearances and 13 goals. And we sold him to LAFC for $500,000 and an international roster spot. So we got some decent value for him. Corey Baird, especially in that 2018 season when he was a rookie, like, he was one of our most exciting players, which, I mean, it was those days were not the best for RSL, and Corey Baird was a bright spot for us, which I really appreciated. I really enjoyed him as a player. I did not like watching him for Houston last year, especially all the times he scored against us. But he's on Cincinnati now. I hope he does well. He hasn't scored yet for them, but he came really close this weekend. So I really hope he gets his goal and the floodgates start opening up for him. I'm rooting for Corey Baird, even though I didn't like seeing him score against RSL. So overall, Corey Baird, yeah, he was a success for sure. $500,000 for just an academy product, like, that's really, really good. And I think Corey Baird, yeah, he was a solid player for us. All right, now this is the top tier. 4 players left in this tier. These are great players that have achieved a lot. They've really turned into great players throughout their career. Only one of them is still on RSL, but we're starting with number 4. That's Brooks Lennon, who's currently on Atlanta. And he was with RSL for 3 seasons. He had 86 appearances and 3 goals. But with Atlanta, he's had 121 appearances and 8 goals, we got $300,000 for him, which I feel like we could have gotten a lot more than that. But he's one of the best fullbacks in the league. Like, I still really like watching Brooks Lennon play, and I I am really disappointed that we let him go. I think he would be a really valuable asset to have, especially right now. You think about having a player like Brooks Lennon at right back right now, that would be amazing. That would be incredible. So Brooks Lennon, overall, he's turned into a really, really successful player, and I'm cheering him on. I like Brooks a lot. So that's why he's in fourth spot. I think he's super talented. He is maybe the most talented on this list. He just wasn't with RSL for as long as some of the other guys in the higher spots. All right, now third spot, I've gone with Aaron Herrera. He was with RSL for 5 seasons. He had 124 appearances and 1 goal. We got $500,000, an international roster spot, a super draft pick, and a sell-on fee for him. So quite a bit more than we got for Brooks Lennon. And outside of RSL, he's had 26 appearances for Montreal and DC, who he's now on, and he's been doing pretty well for them this season. Aaron Herrera, I think it was kind of disappointing last season to let him go. That's a big what if for me, actually. Like, what if we still had Aaron Herrera and Brooks Lennon as our starting fullbacks? Like, that would be incredible. It's just really disappointing that we managed to let both of them go. And it's sad because we could have really had maybe the best 2 fullbacks in the whole league. That would have been amazing. But he was really, really solid for us, particularly 2021. I think of him and Damir Kreilach having that amazing season together. So Aaron Herrera was a really fun player to watch, and I miss him. But I hope he does well at DC. All right, now in the number 2 spot, and this is the player who I think has had the most successful career just in general. They really weren't playing for RSL for very long. It's Carlos Salcedo. He was only with RSL for 2 seasons. He only had 25 appearances and 1 goal. But outside of RSL, he's had 278 career appearances. He played in the World Cup with Mexico in 2018, and he played at some big European clubs like Fiorentina, Eintracht Frankfurt, also Tigres, 47 Mexico appearances, and we got $450,000 out of him when we sold him to Chivas, which back then, that was a lot of money. Like, that was a big deal. So Carlos Salcedo, the fact that we produced a player as good as that, like, that's what we should be aiming for. He's kind of the type of player that we want to, like, he's kind of the model for players that we'll want to sell on. We've obviously had a lot of players that have stayed at the club for a while or become successful MLS players, but he really, really worked out. He's pretty much the only one that's made a big move to Europe. So Carlos Salcedo, he's a product that we can definitely be really proud of. He definitely would have been really, really great player for RSL if we had kept him. But at the time, we had Olave and Borchers back there, and there was no way he was getting into that center-back partnership. So Carlos Salcedo, he's had a pretty successful career. I think he came back to MLS, played with Toronto for a little bit, but he's playing in Liga MX now, and I hope that goes well for him. All right, now the number 1 spot, the most successful homegrown in RSL history, in my opinion, and I feel like this one's pretty obvious. It's Justin Glad for me. He's been with the club for 11 seasons, 222 appearances, and 13 goals. I mean, Justin Glad is a rock. Like, he's been so good for so long. I think this season he's actually had a really, really great start to the season. Hoping he's not injured for too long. But like, to produce a player, to get 11 years out of a player, and he's only 26. We still have 7 seasons left with him if he stays with us, which that's just incredible. Like, Justin Glad, I think he might be my favorite player on RSL right now. I love loyalty. That's a quality that really means a lot to me. And Justin Glad, he emulates that. He's been very, very successful. He's been our best defender for a number of seasons. I know last season was a bit shaky for him, but I'm convinced that that's a fluke. Like, this season, he started really, really well. I think that's gone a little bit under the radar, and we should be giving him and Brian Vera a little bit more credit. But Justin Glad, I mean, RSL fans love him. I love him. I think he's going to be a one-club man, I'm guessing. He hasn't gone to Europe yet, so I think he'll be a one club man. But I mean, I'm guessing he'll be with RSL for many more years to come. I'm excited to see it. He's had a couple of big moments for the club, scores a lot of goals. So I love Justin Glad, and I'm really happy to say that he is the #1 most successful RSL homegrown. All right, so that's the episode for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Obviously, homegrowns are a very important thing to RSL, and let me know what you think of the ranking. Obviously, this is just considering what they've done for the club, but also the career they've had outside of the club. Trying to balance those was definitely very tricky for me, trying to rank this. So make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all the things you need to do. You can check me out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, any platform really. Go find me, and I'll see you all next week. Make sure to watch RSL against Philadelphia, and let's go RSL.